Good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and D Live. My name is Tom Luongo. It is Monday. It's September 20-something. It's 23rd, 2019. I never know what day it is. I'm dead serious. It's like you work from home. The days blur together. What are you going to do about it? All right, so we got a lot to talk about tonight, and what I want to talk about tonight is something that I rarely talk about, even though I have incredibly strong opinions about it. Like, I don't have an incredibly strong opinion about everything, for those of you who know me well and who are regulars to this show. And if you are new to the show, please give a like and subscribe down below. Consider subscribing to the channel because, well, what we do here is hardcore geopolitics and hardcore political analysis and economic analysis of current events and markets. So that's what we do. And every once in a while, I'll talk culture, which I'm going to do tonight. And every once in a while, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to talk about random stuff because, well, you know, it's my show and fuck it, I'm going to do what I want. Matter of fact, that's also a warning. I swear like a sailor. If you don't like it, see ya. All right. So, but otherwise, you know, man, everybody's welcome. Everybody's got a voice, even the lefties. So we're good. All right. So for those of you who also don't know, I am a hardcore libertarian. I don't pull any punches and I don't give a fuck. Okay, so that being said, you can support my work by reading it over tomluongo.me. You can also find me at strategicculture.com as well as moneyandmarkets.com. My work is regularly scraped at places like Zero Hedge, LouRockwell.com, Jim Quinn's Burning Platform, and many, many other places. If you can't find me, you aren't looking hard enough. All right, that being said, I also have a Patreon. Doesn't everybody have a Patreon? But if you are interested in helping support what we do here and speaking truth to power in a way that is both effective and a little blunt, consider signing up for my Patreon over patreon.com/goldgoatsandguns, where you can sign up for the monthly investment newsletter, where I tie all of this stuff up into a relatively cohesive investment thesis designed for the layman to make sense of a world going slowly, or in Greta Thunberg's case, increasingly mad. So, oh my God, let's get down to brass tacks. Yeah, I want to talk about Greta because, you know, why the fuck not? Everybody else is. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that this kid's parents should be beaten for exploiting her and her anxiety, her autism, her obvious autism, and everything else for the purpose of George Soros and the ruling elite, I like to call the Davos crowds, dreams of social and environmental control. And the mechanism by which they do this is through the green religion and their apocalypse or flood story known as global warming or climate change or whatever the fuck they're calling it this week. What it comes down to is humans are bad. They're a virus. They need to be wiped off the planet, or at least those of you who are allowed to survive, who are not a member of the elite ruling class, you get to be serfs, and you get to eat what we tell you, which will keep you drugged, will keep you alive just long enough to work the machines and not question things too hard, and just passive enough to not revolt at the shittiness of your lifestyle. Because hey, we've got opioids for you, we've got unlimited porn, we've got cable, we've got everything. What the fuck else do you need? Just show up, do your work, and pay, and be a good little serf, and go to work and pay attention to everything we tell you, because everything we tell you is the unvarnished truth. Because I'm in a fucking foul mood tonight, so this one's going to be fun. Greta Thunberg is an abomination. She's not just some like fucking little children of the corn thing. This is well beyond that. This is literally straight out of central casting to send this girl to the fucking United Nations. I mean, which I've always thought is a joke anyway, but let's be realistic here. This is the United Nations. This is supposed to be the most important meeting of the year of world leaders. This is the UN General Assembly. This is the place where wars are started or ended. It's where 4 years ago, Vladimir Putin dressed down the entire world, and 2 days later attacked Syria. Well, then attacked Syria, came to the defense of Syria against the empire. Okay, this is what we're dealing with here. And they sent a 16-year-old girl with Asperger's syndrome to bitch out the world and say that all of us climate alarmists and Donald Trump have stolen her fucking childhood. This girl has PTSD. Okay, she has PTSD or something along those lines, because no way has no other way has this kid been anything other than propagandized to the point where she's freaking freaked out, and her parents should be slapped for putting her in that position if she's in any way genuine. And if she's not genuine, then truly fuck her, because I've got no patience for this shit. You're talking about these people want to have complete and utter control over the entire world economy. They want to institute institutional vegetarianism, and we can't have like nice things like electricity or soap because, oil's evil. So we can't have soap. We can't have animal fat. So we can't have soap. I guess we only get to make soap out of fucking soybeans. Like, we're going to turn the entire planet into a monoculture of soybeans to feed 7.5 billion people. Are they out of their fucking minds? So it's insane. It's beyond, it's absolutely right. GGnM says it's child abuse. It absolutely is child abuse. They have subjected this girl to unbelievable levels of propaganda to the point where now they can parade her around the world where she goes on a fucking hunger strike. A fucking hunger strike. To stop global warming. And George Soros, of course, picks up on this, and then they shunt her all around the world and spend ungodly amounts of energy. I don't see her like swimming back to fucking Sweden or anything. No. She has to have security. 16-year-old friggin' crazy kid has to have security. I'm a 52-year-old crazy guy. I don't get security. So it's otherworldly that we're even discussing this in these terms. I'm dead serious that they have taken this thing to this level. Okay? And that they're going to continue to use this girl this way. And 5 years from now, when they've thrown her aside and she's in therapy trying to deal with the fact that, oh my God, the world isn't going to end. What the fuck did my parents tell me? Because you're talking about a kid who's now so thoroughly gaslit that she's going to be nihilistic her entire life. You think that she's going to be a normal, upstanding member of society, or going to be some radicalized twink who runs around engaging in all manner of self-destructive behavior? I don't get it. I mean, it's one thing to have a bad religion. It's one thing to do stuff in the way in terms of a bad religion. It's another thing to abuse your children over it. Okay? And they complain about fundamentalist Christians and filling their kids with stupid end of the world stuff. I mean, I know kids who are Pentecostal, who were raised Pentecostal. Oh my God. Talk about people who have an end of the world fetish. But and they call that child abuse, and they want to rip those kids away from those parents and put them in public schools and teach them all the right things, the way the world is supposed to work and all that. How is this any fucking different? How is global warming alarmism any different? Because I'm going to tell you something. When you look at the models have all been wrong. When you look at the predictions have all been wrong. Every bit of them have been wrong. We were supposed to be underwater by now. The polar bears were supposed to be extinct. Everything was supposed to have gone to hell in a handbasket, and we should all be happy that we live 500 feet above sea level. None of that has occurred. The world's not going to end in the next 5 years. Okay? It's not going to end. Cow farts are not changing the world. We don't need to stop eating beef. As a matter of fact, if we all eat more beef, we'll be healthier. And that's the last thing they want. Look, don't kid yourself. The main reason why they're so against people eating meat is because they know that eating meat makes people healthy. That eating grains makes people sick, weak, and dependent. Okay? This shit's been going on for over 100 years. This is nothing new. Okay? But at the end of the day, when you have thrown away God, when you have thrown away any form of religion, I'm not a terribly religious person in terms of an organized religion or anything along those lines, but I am an incredibly spiritual person who does understand and does embody as many of the ideas as I can find, as I can stomach in the fundamental core teachings of most religions, which is treat each other well, take care of yourself, so that you can take care of others. Care about your family, take care of your life, and take responsibility for everything you do. Okay? We now have people, as AF Rules just told me, some scientists are even now endorsing human cannibalism to fight climate change. They have lost their freaking minds in every fundamental and basic way. These people are left brain dominant, walk down their freaking rabbit holes to the point where they have zero perspective. And the sad part about it is that the people who are manipulating this for money and power are doing unbelievable amounts of damage, not only to the political sphere and not only to the economic sphere, but to the general health and well-being of people all over the planet. I've said many, many times, and I will say it again, that the two biggest and worst, most pernicious lies ever promulgated by the elite were the lipid hypothesis, which taught everybody that saturated fat was bad. Bullshit. Eat as much butter as you like. Bacon's good for you. Get over it. Move on. So is beef, by the way. Second thing, global warming. Because no two things have caused untold trillions and trillions of dollars in economic and social and political damage than these two unbelievable ideas. And guess what? It's going to continue for no other reason than because they they cannot stop until they win. I've been saying for months now, I've been saying for years, 2 years now, 2.5 years now, that the elite are losing. They're losing the political battle. Brexit, Trump, Salvini, Orban, doesn't matter where you look. Spain, Greece, it doesn't matter. Everywhere. They're losing on every front. The EU is on the verge of a sovereign debt meltdown that'll make 2008 look like two Amish kids on Rumspringa, for fuck's sake. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. I'm not really being a doom and gloom guy. This is just reality. The truth of the matter is that the response to this by rational people has been absolutely rational, which is get smart, get out of debt, buy gold, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and take responsibility for everything you do. If we took responsibility for everything we did in this life, there would be no worry about global warming. Especially when this is something that's completely out of our fucking control. What they've tried to do is they've tried to turn this into the original sin of being fucking alive. Human beings are bad, and we're bad for the planet, and we need to go away. Well, at least, again, only maybe 400 or 500 million of us, we could survive. That wouldn't be too damaging to the planet. Like, the planet gives a fuck about us. The planet's never cared about us one way or the other. The planet will be here after we're gone. The planet was here before we ever showed up. And it will be there again. We're not going to turn into Venus. And if we are going to turn into Venus, it ain't going to be our farts and our cows' farts doing it. It'll be the sun, and it's incredibly freaky chemistry that destroys the planet, because that's what's controlling the climate. 95% of the energy that hits the sun, that hits the planet from the sun, is not calculated into their models. 95% of the electromagnetic spectrum is not actually accounted for. But Gaia, no, Gaia doesn't care. And if Gaia cared that much, and if Gaia exists and Gaia cares, got news for you. Greta Thunberg is not her high priest. The planet's so indifferent to our presence, it's not funny. Go anywhere where there are not a concentration of people and go look at how big the world is. And you will see quickly just how much the planet doesn't care. Guys, it is an insane level of gaslighting that they have attempted here. And it's actually a good thing that they've done so. Because at the end of the day, when you parade around a 16-year-old girl who honestly looks 12 because she's obviously malnourished because she's been raised vegan, when they paraded around a 16-year-old girl and give her the spotlight at the UN, how worried are they that they're losing? The only place in this world where the Greens are winning is Germany. There are many stories out there there are many studies that have been done about the sun and the changes in the magnetic dynamo of the sun and blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, go watch Suspicious Observers. Go read Ben's textbook. It's pretty cut and dried. Just understand the very basic idea that They don't account for particle forcing. They don't account for gamma rays, X-rays, high energy particles, high energy protons, any of that stuff, which is where all the energy comes from in the first place, which causes the cloud seeding, and flux in that changes the flux in cloud seeding and changes the cloud cover and all of it. And then there's magnetic field flux of both the sun, which shades us from the rest of the universe, and our own magnetic field, which shades us from the sun. And all that's going on right now. Poles are shifting. We're in the middle of a polar shift. It's happening. They manipulate the headlines to make you think it's only hot here, but they show you that it's hot in Turkey, but they don't show you that there's record cold in Europe, or there's record warmth in Europe and there's record cold in Turkey. And, it's snowing in frickin' Virginia in June, but global warming. You fucking break. I'm not stupid. Okay? I live here in Florida. This year it's been cool for Florida. It's this year though. Last year it was pretty cool. So it's not even at the end of the day, it's disgusting what they've done. And it's disgusting what they'll do in service of this false religion of theirs. Because when you, as I was trying to say before I got off on another rant, when you remove yourself from any form of quote unquote religion, or any form of acting as if God exists, as Jordan Peterson would put it. Everyone has a religion, though. Everyone has something they believe in. Everybody has something that they need to get up for the game. It could be a cup of coffee in the morning. It doesn't matter what it is. We all have something we believe in and we'll fight for. Because if we don't have anything that we believe in and that gives our lives meaning and that we will fight for, then we have nothing. And so for these people, they're fighting for the climate. They're fighting for the planet, but they're not fighting for the planet. They're fighting for themselves because they have nothing else in their lives, because they've given everything else up, because they don't believe in population, because now they don't believe in people, because they hate people and they don't want to procreate. And they certainly don't want you to procreate. So the extension is the world is going to end, and it's very easy, it's very susceptible to be programmed with this bad stuff, with this bad code of, yeah, the world's going to end. No, it's not going to end. Every generation wants to believe the world's going to end. Look, the truth of the matter is that we're going through a very, very ugly period. Everything's very chaotic. The political system is breaking down. The culture is breaking down. The institutions are breaking down. Everything feels inadequate to control the chaos. And that's what happens. Strauss and Howe call it a fourth turning. You call it what you like. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what's important is, right, and as Kayla Moll saying, the logos. If you deny the logos, everybody has some. So if you deny that, you're going to have to look for something else to substitute for it. And they've substituted religion. They've substituted global warming for their religion. It's their end of the world story. They did away with God, so they've replaced him with the state, and now the state has to protect us from the unruly people who refuse to get on board. Because if we don't, we're going to destroy the planet. Now, I want you to understand something else, and I've been saying this for a very long time. When you're controlling a narrative, and Caitlin Johnstone's been doing great work on the whole narrative control stuff in her recent articles, and if you've read them on Zero Hedge and other places, that they're losing control of the narrative. So, but here's the thing. When you are engaged in nothing but narrative control, because in order to promulgate all of these lies, it takes a tremendous amount of narrative control. You have to have control over the means of transmission. You have to control over the means of communication, the ability for us to talk to each other, and for us to have access to the elitists, to the people who actually run everything, right? Previous to things like Twitter and Facebook, we didn't have access to them. Now we have access to them, and they don't like it. So now they want to take that access away. And of course, Jack Dorsey will do whatever he has to do to ensure that happens. But previous to this, they've always been able to set the narrative. So in the 70s, when I was growing up, they were programming us with the idea, don't eat meat. Meat's bad for you. And I remember Diane Sawyer, when she used to work for WABC, before she went national, because everybody in news who was going to go national started at WABC, WNBC, and WCBS in New York. Remember her on Good Morning America or the 7 o'clock news or whatever the hell it was, promulgating this great new food, tofu. And I went, look, it's a great meat substitute. I'm like, why do we need a substitute for meat? What's wrong with meat? My problem is I don't get enough meat. We were poor. We didn't get enough meat when I was a kid. I ate too much pasta. It's terrible. Terrible for me. It's terrible for it's good. Tastes good. Bad for you. Especially Italians. So, what's wrong with meat? They started there. They were doing all the environmental shit then too. And it was building that. And back then it was global cooling. We're the world, we're going to have another ice age. No. It's always something. Promulgating vegetarianism, promulgating making people sick. They want people on soy. They want people on sugar. They want people on wheat. They want people on all this stuff, and at the end of the day, then they complain about all the health. Then they complain about all the healthcare costs. So you should just kill yourself early. You're not going to be able to afford your healthcare for your lifestyle choices, your bad lifestyle choices, which they told you were the good lifestyle choices 30 years ago. And now that the costs are coming, and oh shit, we don't want to pay for that anymore. And rightly so. I mean, in some ways, rightly so. I don't want to pay for it. I work my ass off to be relatively healthy. Work really hard to be relatively healthy. But it's always something. And so in the process of narrative control, there's an important thing that you have to understand about the way stories are written. And the way stories have to work in order to keep audience engagement. As communism was failing throughout the 70s and the 80s, as socialism was absolutely being destroyed in the 70s and the 80s. And certainly Thatcher was doing her part in Britain to undo the damage of the British socialists and the British Marxists who were in charge since World War II. Fall of the Soviet Union in the 80s and everything else. All of that was failing. Libertarianism was beginning to rise. The rise of individualism. People were actually listening to what Ayn Rand had to say. Unbelievably, believe it or not, all those people who read The Lord of the Rings in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s programmed with Catholicism. Oh, by the way. Just putting it out there because it was absolutely Tolkien's desire to do that. So all of these things were informing you that the state was bad. And the state wasn't the solution. Ronald Reagan, all of it. The state wasn't the solution. Socialism was failing. And their original arguments about the end of the world and no more oil. And they tried the end of the oil. They tried all the oil crisis stuff. Oh, we're going to run out of oil in 10 years, so we need to get off of fossil fuels. We need to do this. We need to do that. Oh my God, the world is going to end. They keep changing the story about how the world was going to end. And if you don't, and it went from, pollution is bad, which pollution is bad, and went from honest inquiries into things like Love Canal, which, by the way, they whitewashed the government's involvement in that. Blamed it all on Hooker Chemical. Yes, of course. But went from an honest inquiry into pollution issues and morphed it into a religion and tacked it onto Marxism, cultural Marxism and all this shit in the very early stages. So when we got to the 1990s and communism failed, they needed something else. Desperately. Enter global warming. Because what you have to do when you're into narrative control territory is that, and in any story, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. In Act 1 of any movie, the hero has to overcome some obstacle. When he overcomes that obstacle, and something changes, something fundamental changes, we move into Act 2. Now, the obstacle in Act 2 will be far bigger than it was in Act 1. Has to be, otherwise the audience loses interest. Who the fuck wants to watch a guy spin his wheels and overcome the same thing over and over again? No, it's got to be the stakes have to be raised. With each end of each scene arc in a movie or episodic television show or whatever, the stakes have to rise. It has to start with a very small inciting incident and balloon to a very big event. Small inciting incident. Star Destroyer overtakes a blockade runner looking for plans. And stakes at the end, the Death Star is going to blow up the Rebel Alliance. Bigger obstacles each time. End of Act 1, end of Act 2, end of Act 3. Right? End of Act 1, get off at Tatooine. End of Act 2, escape from the Death Star. End of Act 3, blow up the Death Star. Not tough. Okay? Stakes always have to be raised. So what happens when we get to the end of the 1980s and early 1990s and communism fails spectacularly all around the planet? in complete opposition to what we were told was going to happen, which was still that communism was inevitable. If we do not change our ways now and give up capitalism, we're going to destroy the fucking planet. Enter James Cameron. He gives us Avatar, or Avatared, or Dune, or what? Pocahontas. In space. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. If you're going to raise the stakes from where they were, the only thing left was for them to raise the stakes to the entire planet itself. And that's where we are today. And we have a generation of kids who fundamentally believe that the world is going to end because global warming. And if we look at the behavior, and that dovetails with the kind of analysis I do of how the monetary system is thieving people structurally and forcing them into more and more and more short-term behavior, high time preference behavior, because the money circulates and the inflation gets out of control and their purchasing power degrades, and what their money buys them less and less and less of the things they need to live their lives. And their future is less secure. And the less secure your future is, the more you focus on the present. The more you focus on the present, the more nihilistic you become. Because, well, you can't think of the future. All you've got is today. And it takes a very strong soul to stand. It's a very strong belief and a very strong sense of meaning and purpose. Be able to withstand that pressure and say, okay, I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to focus on today, and we're going to get through whatever. And no matter what happens, as long as my family is secure, I don't care. But look at what's been happening all across the West. The middle class is getting hollowed out. Drug addiction's on the rise. Culture's falling apart. Kids, what was anathema to me in the 1980s, getting an earring or a tattoo, is now de rigueur. Nose rings abound, purple hair, the whole 9 yards. I'm not saying don't be you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is, at the end of the day, sorry, but body mutilation is a nihilistic response to external stresses. Just saying. And now we've got them arguing that kids should be able to mutilate themselves at 4 because they decided that today they want to be a girl as opposed to a boy. You know, when I was 9, I wanted to be Cornelius from the Planet of the Apes. I didn't see my mother saying, okay, let's get even more hair implants on your back. Okay? I mean, seriously. I know the quality of the stream tonight's not very good. I don't know why. I don't have anything running that I know of. I'll shut some other stuff down, but I'm not sure what's going on here. Circumcision is mutilation. Not gonna argue that either. Oh, look at that. Stoyanovich, drugs are a normal part of life now. Go to any grade school and see how many kids are on some med. Why? Because the teachers don't want to deal with normal everyday kids who are a little unruly. Parents don't know how to discipline them because the parents are overworked and overstressed and they're not doing their work. I mean, it's crazy. Self-mutilation has become self-expression, of course. It's terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. And in no way, manner, shape, or form should we be willing to accept it. And so I titled the stream, Germany's going to sink into the hell of Greta Thunberg's fever dreams. Why? Because look at what Germany just pledged. In order for Angela Merkel to stave off a revolt from the Greens, who are now polling well above 20% in Germany, far higher than her coalition partner, the SPD, is, right? I'm sorry, I know that the stream output's low, so I'm kind of like fucked here. But how can I be offline? All right. I don't know what's going on here at all. I don't understand what's happening here. But I don't have. I'm the only one home in the house. I must not have very good service tonight. So I apologize if the stream is terrible. If the video output is low. But my point was, Merkel, look at what she just had to do. Right? She just had to announce a $53 billion package to effectively buy off the Greens to keep them from revolting against her government. Because so many in the SPD have seats now that they couldn't win re-election in. And yet she's still going to try and hold on to austerity. So, yeah, I mean, YouTube is on and offline, so I don't know what's going on. They committed economic suicide. Now, I'm kind of watching it on my end, and that the number of frames that are going out and what's coming up, and I don't know what's going on here. So I'm really annoyed. And it's been this way for the entire stream. Like, I can't get any consistent bandwidth, and I don't know why. So I'm sure I'm barely getting 1.144p, which is really, really sad. So I don't know. And we're not here because you're so telegenic. Thanks so much, Doug Murray. I appreciate that. One of these days, I'm just going to like put up a friggin' blank tag and just, but nah, never mind. So Germany commits economic harakiri. They commit economic suicide because they're trying to stave off the Greens, who are resurgent, but they're mostly resurgent because the SPD is collapsing, the Social Democrats. And the guts of it are that they're going to gut German industry. They're going to gut their energy handling. They're not going to be able to fund an entire first world industrial economy by the time Merkel's done. That's what the Greens want. And the most hyper-vigilant Greens are in Germany. Thomas and face for 144D. P, thank you so much, guys. So, especially when I'm ranting, right? So, Merkel is screwed. Germany's economy is rapidly collapsing. Rapidly collapsing. There's no argument here. The PMI print, the manufacturing PMI print from this morning was 41. Like, anything below 50 is bad, and they've been in the low 40s for months now. What do you mean, why is Germany the hotspot for the Green Movement? They are the birth of the Green Movement. It started under Hitler, for fuck's sake. Not one of Godwin's law anybody, but Hitler was the original ethical vegetarian. And the Nazis used environmentalism as a means by which to get people angry. It was all about that. I mean, know your history. This is not hard. So, I don't say that AfD blew picking up those SPD voters. They were never going to pick those guys up in West Germany. They picked them up in East Germany. So, no, they're not turning it into the Weimar Republic, Stoyanovich. Not going to print money going out of hand. No, they refuse to do any fiscal stimulus because, I mean, the Germans are already in debt up to their eyeballs anyway. So when we're looking at what's happening in Germany, Germany's economy is imploding. It's going to continue to implode. It's why they're putting on the full court press to stop Brexit now. I mean, in every way, they're going to do everything they can to stop Brexit, including pressure the Supreme Court to allow Berkow to bring Parliament back into session on fucking Thursday or Wednesday and force Boris Johnson to resign. That's in the cards, guys. Tomorrow, if the Supreme Court of the UK sides with the plaintiff and sides against the government that he was wrong to prorogue Parliament, and the argument they're making is, well, if the government has the ability to prorogue Parliament for 5 weeks, then they have the ability to prorogue Parliament for a year and a half, and that's not and that's not government by the people anymore. Like, well, that's not fucking government. Like, do away with your fucking parliamentary system in the first place, and just have like fucking direct democracy then. I mean, what are you? I mean, it's unbelievable what they're making arguments to literally tear down the entire British political system completely in order to stop Brexit, which I told you a year ago would be the final outcome of this, which is that if the Brits are going to leave the EU, they're going to do so much damage to the body politic in Britain at a political level. I mean, people are now wedded at a religious level to the EU because it's the only way to stop climate change and workers' rights and this and that and everything else. They're also fucking gaslit. They're literally crazy people. When all that's going to happen is that the EU is going to have to stop fucking them in the ass and trade with them like normal people. But again, the European Union is also a religion. It's the new God. We have to have huge multinational, supranational governments to control humans. Otherwise, we're going to destroy the planet. This is the way these people think. I listen to them every day on Nigel Farage's show. They call in and I'm like, fucking planet do you live on? One guy called in the other day and said, well, no, I just see it that we're coalescing around these 4 or 5 huge governmental blocks, and we need to be a part of one, because we're not, we're going to lose out to the big governmental blocks. And Nigel just looked at him. He said, you know, when I was your age, or when I was a boy, there were like 58 countries in the world. Now there's 240. I think you're wrong. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like 120 countries. Now it's like, what, 250, 245, 250, something like that. Every time a new country forms, like, oh, yay, one more. Now if we can just get to like 7 or 8 million, the world would be a far better place. No, all this fucking environmental shit is all just, I'm dead serious. This is all fucking Comintern crap. This is all just this is all Comintern crap that got out of control. Kind of like neoconservatism. Jonathan tells me that Alexander Mercouris of the Duran says that it's not likely that they'll rule against the government. Got news for you. The stakes are so high, they will overturn centuries of precedent. I'll be shocked if the ruling goes their way. Brexit's way. I will be shocked. Firmly convinced that this whole thing was set up from the beginning to destroy the office of Prime Minister temporarily, because now they need to neuter the Prime Minister because they have power concentrated in Parliament, and they want to keep that, and they're going to hold on to that for as long as they can. Then they're going to go for a general election after they do what? After they destroy Brexit, they think they're going to win a general election? Nigel was beside himself today because he knows how this is going to go. This is why they're putting the full court press on. They don't care what they do to survive here. They will do anything to stop this. Anything. There is nothing these people will not do. Nothing. When your only God is power, then power is all you have. And power is the only end that matters. I love Nigel. He's fucking awesome. And he's right. He's been right about every stage of Brexit. I love the Duran too, and they are incredibly naive about a lot of things. Mark Shear, I agree with you. The most intelligent Germans were starved to death after World War II. So it makes me sad to watch this play out, but Germany is absolutely fucked. Culturally, culturally, it's gonna be a split between the Greens and the sovereigntists. The center right, center left are gonna collapse. But it's not gonna collapse until they destroy the German economy. And even if AfD does rise to power or splits East Germany off from West Germany and they split off into two different countries, which is very possible, by the way. The damage that will be done to the German economy and to German society in the interim will be catastrophic. It's exactly what they're going to do. They're starting to do in Italy right now. Now that Salvini's out of the way, they're like bussing in all the IQ 60 Somalis. Bring us your stupid, you're poor, you're malnourished, and you're crazy. We need more of that to destroy what's left of Italy. And if you don't think that Conti and the rest of those rat fucks from the south aren't going to ship those bastards, they're going to ship those worthless sons of bitches up to Veneto and Lombardy, you're out of your fucking mind, because that's exactly where they're going to go. It's like us busting in Somalis and into fucking Minnesota. Fucking vandals, all of these people. From Greta Thunberg on down. And everybody who stands behind all of them. They are nothing more than vandals. I know Northern Italy is economically as strong as Germany. That's why they need to destroy it. It's also the hotbed of dissent. AF rules. It's where the league came from. All right. Just so you know. Germany's fucked. It's going to start there. Everybody's been looking at places like Portugal and Spain and Italy and the rest. No, it's going to start in Germany. The Fed repo window stuff? Come on, man. You don't think that's Commerzbank and Deutsche Bank? Along with Goldman Sachs and a few others? Oil blows up 25% in a day. And the Fed opens up an emergency repo window for the next 2.5 weeks. Have I seen that piece from The Guardian where they call for foreign interventionist wars against the countries that don't buy into AGW? Great. We're now into the Crusades for Gaia. Italian deunification. Well, you know, was it Venice? Venice voted to leave Italy a while ago. Of course, it was ignored. AGW, anthropogenic global warming. Italy should do city-states like in the Renaissance. It should be like, I mean, modern Italy is a fiction. It's only 150, so it's not even as old as the United States. What I love about Europe, Europe sits there and talks about how old all their culture is and everything else, but all their countries are fictions that are less than 200 years old. Not all of them, but you know, a great number of them. Mark Shear says, I'm really starting to believe Russia is the planet's last best hope today. Places where culture is reasserting itself, not collapsing, is what you want to look at. Good luck getting the U.S. into that. The Trump is bringing back the big boy V8s. Yeah, I hope so. I'd like to see some standard transmissions, too. On anything except sports cars. I remember arguing with people a long time ago. I mean, this is when I was nominally, young and an intellectual and all that. We used to argue about, well, there's no black and white, there's just shades of gray and all that. Like, no, there's black and white. There's good and bad. There's good and bad in this world. You know, you aggress somebody, that's wrong. There's no like, well, you know, you kind of maybe deserved it a little. No. You took my shit. Fuck you. You hit me in the face. I didn't hit you. Fuck you. That's wrong. Done. That's a wrong. There's no, no. I understand that there's no necessarily all black and all white. You know, I'm enough of a Taoist to understand that you can't have one without the other. And that you can put yourself in a situation to get punched in the face. So maybe you could have taken pains to avoid getting punched in the face, and you are responsible at that level. But at the end of the day, the other person is still responsible for his aggression. Period. So this whole idea that it's all kind of fluid and the truth doesn't really matter, and that's all this cultural Marxist shit, because they just don't want to believe in anything, because they don't want to believe in property, because they don't want to believe in the individual. They don't want to believe in any of those things. They want to semantically argue against individual rights in order to be able to assert collective rights. You have to understand that this is the mindset. This is very pernicious shit. It's vile. It's French. God damn it. And it needs to go away. And it's exactly why they're able to program people into really bad ideas like global warming. Some things are just not gray. They're not. You take my stuff, and if you're going to say to me, I can't, like, I am willing to take responsibility for the harm that I do. Prove to me I've done harm, and I'll make restitution. If you can't prove to me that I've done harm, fuck off with your restitution. Period. And because of this, truth is fluid. Rights are fluid. They don't really exist. They're just these things we agree upon. Okay, your rights are this because we agree that your rights are this. No, in practice, I have rights, and in practice you abrogate them, and I choose not to beat the fuck out of you. There's a big difference between you stealing something of that's not consequential to me, and me not responding with, give me my shit back. Well, it's not worth it. Okay, but that's my decision. But I always have the right to prosecute you for the theft. It may be dumb for me to prosecute you for the theft in terms of diminishing marginal utility of the object and of the restitution. But I still have that. I still retain that right. Because if you don't have that, then we don't have anything. We have no definitions of anything whatsoever. Definitions of what are and what are not rights are constantly just kind of changing with whatever we need them to be today, because we want to do this. So we need to make rights that do this. And then tomorrow we need to do these things because we need to have rights to do that protect this or do that. And whatever bad idea comes into somebody's head becomes a right. And all because we can get 50% plus one to vote for it. So does that mean that if we get 50% plus one to redefine 5 as 2 plus 2, that we can break math? No. I'm a human being. I mean, and don't kid yourself. All this stuff into brain function and all this research that they're doing into trying to make you undermine your faith in your own perceptions and reality and all the. Now I'm beginning to sound very Randian. The perceptions, reality, and everything else. It's all designed to make you. It's all being used to try and make you doubt your own observations and your own behavior and everything else. Not that you shouldn't. Not that you shouldn't. Not that you should think that you're in complete control of your person, because you're not. I mean, that's absolutely true, and I agree with Jung and all these other guys. I agree with all that shit. But that doesn't. Just because that's not, all of my reactions can't be rationally written down, doesn't mean that I still don't reserve the right to make them and to feel them. Period. I'm still going to be the best judge of ultimately of my behavior. And I have to take responsibility for that, because how else am I otherwise going to figure out that I should alter my behavior and alter my reactions to situations? There are plenty. El Vaquero says, but Tom, 2 + 2 does equal 5 for very large values of 2. Exactly, for very large values of 2. Rights are inalienable and God-given. They are not bequeathed by the state. Rights are inalienable and or God-given or just inherent, depending on whether you believe in God or not. The secular version of that, Mark Bogosian, is that your rights are inherited from your parents who were rights holders. And where do they get them from? From the rights holder who came before them, and all the way back down the line. And of course, that's it. And the argument that many of Marxists has made to me is, well, I come up to you and I stab you and I kill you. What matters? Your rights don't matter at that point. Rights are not some kind of inviolate armor that keep you from harm from a universe designed to kill you. The rights exist as a function of you as an individual. And therefore, if you abrogate them, and if you go to kill me and you fail, guess what, dude? I'm coming back after you with proportional force. And someone can always advocate for me, because culture demands and community demands that the person who aggressed me and killed me needs to be taken down by everybody around them for pure fitness purposes. We don't want that fucking psychopath in our fucking town. Lynch that motherfucker. This is not hard. And this does not mean that you have that being aggressive gives you the right to immediately go to the ultimate violent act. You stole my pen, I'm going to shoot you. No, that's disproportionate. No, I want my pen back, motherfucker. And as a matter of fact, I want my pen back and another pen to replace the one you stole from me. And I get to box your fucking ears for stealing from me. Libertarian justice is an eye for 2 eyes and a little bit of scaring. Not only do I get back my pen, which was my pen, I want your pen as well. You want to stop shit? You want to stop the thieves? No. What we have is an eye for 1% of an eye, and the bad guys get away with it all and get elected to Congress. That's what we have. Goldman steals $25 billion in rigging markets, pays a $25 million fine, and one of their managers gets elected, gets raised up to Secretary of the Treasury. That's the way our current system works, and you wonder why people are pissed off. Matter of fact, this is what bothers me most about global warming. I'll get right back to the original topic. Why are you fucking giving a shit about whether or not we can destroy the planet or not? These motherfuckers are getting away with trillions of dollars in fucking thievery every damn day, and global warming is one of their mechanisms for it. Period. Every day, they suck a vig off of your life. Your entire life, every day, every act you take, every economic act you take, they take a vig. And now you want them to take an even bigger vig in order to pay for what? To stop me from using plastic straws? What the fuck is wrong with you? Carbon taxes, carbon trading. That's all Goldman, by the way. Goldman is the one who's scared deathless that this whole global warming thing is going to fall apart. This aggression will not stand, man. You're right. Rights are what the parties say they are. Get ready for it because it's coming. No, I'm not. I'm not ready for that yet. Tweety Bird asked me, Tom, is the money that the Fed is handing out through the repo window, is that gone forever? Probably. No, it's going to convert it into treasury bonds later in the week when they go for $200 billion at auction. Depends on what happens. Because, if there's a dollar funding crisis out there and nobody's got any freaking dollars, got news for you. This is not going to be anybody's bellying up to the fucking bench on Tuesday. That's possible. One of these days, we're going to have a failed auction. I don't know when that's going to be, but one of these days, we're going to have a failed debt auction. We've had auctions that would be considered failed auctions. Remember, Germany just had one. They had a failed auction where they tried to auction off $2 billion worth of 30-year debt at negative yield, and they could only get $624 million in punters trying to offload this shit tomorrow. They couldn't even get the primary dealers to buy that stuff. Umpire's Post. The destruction of the planet is being done by the very same people saying that we must save the planet. Now give me boatloads of money! Yeah, this is like a Paul Joseph Watson video now at this point. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand any of this stuff, right? Bank deposit rates will be zero or negative. They already are zero. When's the last time you looked at your savings account in the United States? I haven't gotten any freaking return on my savings in fucking 11 years. My savings account is a freaking... It is a backup for my checking account. That's all it is. I make 0.1% on my checking account, on my savings account. All the Marble says that's going to be the happiest day of my life, the day the U.S. Treasury breaks. Well, so is that like when the levee breaks? I hate to make a Led Zeppelin reference, but it was in my head, so I used it because it was there. All right, let me go back through a couple more comments before we go off for the evening. If anybody's interested, tomorrow night, for those of you who are in the stream who are part of the World of Warcraft gig, I want to run something tomorrow evening. Yay, no? Let's be on around, I don't know, 6 o'clock or so. Let's try and get a run in before Sophie has to go to bed. I don't know, SFK, BFD, something like that. Would be great. Really like to do that. So, all right, let's see. There we go. Let's see what else we got. Tom, I think predatory capitalism, says Mark Scheer, is more of a danger than socialism. It's these billionaires that are pushing the global warming, climate change crap. Yeah, but predatory capitalism isn't capitalism. It's corporatism. Please don't sully the word. I know capitalism is already a ruined word. It's kind of like libertarian and a variety of other words. They've already ruined them all through Orwellian newspeak bullshit. But the truth of the matter is that capitalism is not this. This is not capitalism. This is corporatism. This is fascism. This is whatever you want to call it, but it's not capitalism. Period. Okay? Not capitalism. But I agree with you that that's worse than what these guys think socialism is going to be. It's worse. It's 10 times worse. Could transgenderism be some kind of Darwinian mutation? No, it's not. It's a response to external stimuli of the culture breaking down, and people not being able to handle, and men and women neither being able to handle the responsibility of dealing with the world as it is. And their response is to punt. It's also a function of not having too much time in their hands and not enough meaning in their lives. So they search for meaning by changing all the rules. They're mentally ill. Their penises still work. Their vaginas still work. You know, we have to get to a point where it's and I'm telling you right now, we have to get to a point we need to start doing two things. And it's very important that we do this. Last thing I'm going to talk about before we leave, because it's all the ranting in the world doesn't mean a goddamn thing if we don't have a game plan. So here's the game plan. Laugh at them. The next time some kid comes up to you and starts spouting off about how the world's going to end and everything, just fucking laugh at them. Please. Are you kidding me? It's not CO2. Why do you think that's so? Why do you think something's so unbelievably stupid? Well, my teachers. Shut up. It's dumb. That's really dumb. Your teacher's dumb. I pay to send you to that school? Are you kidding me? Next time a neckbeard looks up at you and says, well, I'm a cisgendered white male, just laugh at him. You're not getting laid tonight. And if you are, you're not getting laid by anybody worth a shit, worth breeding with. Just do it. Just laugh at them. Just call them out on their bullshit. Well, I'm transgendered. No, you're not. Dude, you're a dude. You've got a 5 o'clock shadow and a deeper voice than I have. You're a dude. Dude, you're a dude. Get over yourself. Who pushed transgenderism in Weimar, Germany? It's again, it's not, transgenders are not mentally ill. Yes, they are. Most of them are. Most of the ones who are calling themselves transgendered, yes. There's a very small percentage of the population that really do have physiological physiological conditions, sets of circumstances. I hate to use the word condition but physiological circumstances which make their body chemistry odd. That I will not deny. That is not 99% of the people who currently are calling themselves transgendered. Most of the transgenders are like that guy with the purple hair and the purple glasses who identified himself as a freaking woman who just got acquitted for, you know, beating up children. That guy's a guy. He's a dude. He's not transgendered. He's got a penis. There ain't no difference. You know, it's like, that's it. Meet the old boss, same as the new boss, except for the Doc Martens and the purple hair. And as Camille would put it, the big rapey cock. That's what we're talking about. Chromosomes determine who you are. Period. I mean, if you're one of these double XYs that, you know, I mean, double XYs, they're infertile, they've got male character, they're women, they've got vaginas, they're infertile, they've got male characteristics, they got some male characteristics. They're they exist. They might have some gender fluidity issues psychologically. Of course, they're XXY. It is what it is. I'm not going to deny that. But 95% of it, but most of what's happening right now, most of this is rapid onset gender dysphoria due to an inability to handle the stress of living in the modern world. Stress of handling, inability to handle the chaos. Right. Alexandra Kahan says, I think you're new. Alexandra Kahan? I'm not sure. I do try. Germans will not undercome their guilt about World War II before being destroyed by cultural Marxism and mass immigration, which they can't forbid, or else they would be accused of being Nazis again. It's a very, very good point. It's a point I've made before, but it's also a very good point. And it's mostly the older generations. And I think the younger generations, what I saw that was very encouraging coming out of the elections in Brandenburg and Saxony was again, this is a point that I've made multiple live streams now, is that AfD in those two states was the most popular party by far in every demographic up to the age of 44. It was only from 45 and actually up to 54. And 54 and older, it was where the older parties were still dominant. And so as those people age, it's only going to get better for them. Same thing's happening in Greece, by the way. Alexander, are you German? One last thing before I go. In French, okay. Are you seeing that in France as well? That would be a good question. This is a good question for me to ask someone who's actually French as opposed to, just my own ramblings. Please answer as you can. So Jonathan says that this explains why AfD had trouble getting more support in German elections. East Germany, though, it is terrible in France. That I do understand. That from what I understand, this is where the Gilets jaunes come from, is that the middle class has been wiped out. They have nothing, and now they want even more. And oh please, AfD is not controlled by Muslims. That's the exact opposite of the situation with AfD. And that it's a truly middle class uprising, or formerly middle class uprising, and it's not something that's going to go away without a complete overhaul of the French state, from what I understand. I may be wrong about that, but everything I see is yeah. Everything I can see is tells me that this is the direction that things are going. I think this is the problem is going to continue to be just like it is here in the United States and in Britain and in other places, is that it's a generational divide until our post-war generation is out of political power, and they're basically, and you notice how they're all holding on to power for as long as possible, especially here in the United States. They're trying to run freaking Joe Biden for president, for Christ's sake. That until they leave power, and until the equivalent of the American Gen X, that would be from the early 60s up through the early 80s, particularly long generation here in the United States, until that generation begins to take control, and the younger generations begin to exert political control and societal control. This dynamic will not change. So, all right, guys, I'm at an hour and 6 minutes. This is too long for me. My voice is starting to go. I ranted enough tonight. Hopefully on Friday, it won't be quite as technologically challenged, and maybe I'll even be a little bit more coherent. All right, so there's the stream for this evening. If you like what you heard tonight, you know the deal. Please give a like and subscribe down below. Please share. Please do all of that. I think we're up to just under 2,850 people. We had 93 people watching as of right now. We had 113 or 118 was the high in the stream the other night, so that's very good. Appreciate everybody coming out as always. And if you can give a small donation to the stream, you're more than welcome to do so, either by Patreon, crypto, Brave, PayPal, you name it. Anything would be appreciated. Doesn't really matter. I don't monetize this channel because I don't like to give Google a cut. There you go. All right, you guys take care. You have a great night, and we will talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.